Hey everybody, welcome on in to today's live DIY session. I'm going to be showing you some new fall foods that I'm making for my home decor. If you like decorating on a budget with some rustic or primitive vintage style projects, then I'm your girl. My name is Tracy Campbell. Welcome to My Sweet Home Living. I can't wait to show you what we're doing today. And it's not going to be perfect crafting. It's just my ideas possibly coming to life today with some faux foods, and you all hop on in. I can't wait to see who's here today and who may be watching on the replay later. I would love to know you're here. Hello, Miss Jenny and Miss Peggy, Miss Daphne. How are you? I'm doing great. Thank you, Miss Jenny, for sprinkling us out. We always appreciate that. If you are watching today, I would love to know you're here. You guys, I have my table all spread out with things that I think we're going to be using today. And although I'm not quite decorating for fall yet in my home, as I'm sure many of you are not either, I'm already thinking ahead for ideas that I can make and share with you so that to get you ready for fall, right? Hey, Miss Jennifer and Donna. We have two Donnas back to back. How are you ladies? Vicki and Deborah. So pretty soon, I will be taking down my patriotic decor. I like to keep it out through the end of the summer. But I will probably be slowly trading things, swapping things out for some fall decor. And all of the things that I share with you guys as far as projects goes are things that you can mix and match and that will coordinate well together. So you all, if you're familiar with me, you know the projects I show you, I use them intermixed with each other so often to give you ideas on how you can use what you make. Not just make them for fun, but how you can use them and how you can use them to decorate your home. So who is excited for fall? Watching from Beaver Dam, Miss Carol, you are not far away from me at all, friend. Not far away at all. In fact, I was in Beaver Dam this morning looking for some last minute supplies. Good morning, Miss Vivian. Hey, Marcia. Okay, you guys. I have everything from spray foam, air dry clay, distressed inks, coffee grunge, oats, spackling, paint. Do you get where I'm going with this? Hey, Miss Donna, first time catching me live. Oh, so glad you're here. I don't know if we'll have a perfect project by the end of today's episode because this is a cross-streaming episode that's going over into the Craft Around the Clock group. You guys, if you know me, Craft on the Clock is where my heart is over there. And so I have lots of creative friends that are over there, and we have live crafting for you to enjoy almost every single day of the week, Monday through Friday for sure, from early morning to late at night. You guys check it out. It's better than watching cable, promise. I promise. Miss Dana, you're starting to transition into fall. Still have your sunflowers. Awesome. I'm ready for fall in one sense, but in the other sense, I'm like hanging on to the last, days of summer, right? And I think we will still have quite a bit of summer weather left. But sometimes the weather's too hot so you can stay in and craft some fall things. That way you can be outside and enjoy the fall weather when it comes. Hey, Miss Marilyn and Deborah and Pat. Hey, from Ohio, Miss Cheryl. Okay. We have multi-dimensional project going on today. And it means that in so many different ways. So you guys know that I have made faux breads, and I should have I'll grab one real quick. I've made faux breads in the past. Let me show you this one. Grabbed it. I'm fall from the waist up, from the waist down. I'm shorts and still summer. But I make faux breads, okay? And I use these to decorate around in my home. And you can make small, large ones, mini ones. For example, here's a large one. Here's a mini one. See how they compare, and you can use them in different places. Hey, Miss Jan, how are you? You love Craft on the Clock. That warms my heart so much because we do have an amazing community over there, and we love to hear that you love it. Hey, Miss Sheila, how are you, sweet friend? I know you love the fall colors, but not the cool weather. I know, where some of us are kind of in that limbo mode, right? Still hanging on. Okay, so I'm wanting some faux fall foods. Okay, so I keep this out all year long, and I could transition it and make it into something fall, but I like to change things out and you know, give a little bit of something different occasionally. It keeps things interesting, right? And so I'm going for some fall breads and muffins today. Excuse me. So that's why we have the coffee. We have the cinnamon out today, and we're going to get to crafting. Hey, Miss Lisa, how are you, sweet friend? Oh my goodness. You have the privilege of making some of the ideas. Oh, fun. I can't see. Post the pictures. Oh, awesome. That your house smells fantastic when you're making some of the faux foods. Absolutely. Coffee and cinnamon and vanilla. That's what my house smells like this morning as well. Okay. So we're going to start with a couple of things. And I'm kind of, like I said, my head's spinning in like all kinds of different directions. So we'll just kind of see what dumps out today. All right. I'm going to first real quick show you just a real quick. I have several videos of this on my page, but you know how it is. Sometimes it's hard to find older videos. And so real quickly, I'm going to show you the real quick way to get a base for your faux breads. Okay. Get a non-stick pan. You could use a muffin tin. You could use a like a loaf pan. You get creative. You could even use cups, but non-stick will help you with this process of the way I'm making them today anyway. Okay. Now you could use a vintage pan, or for example, this one. Now this one, I left the back unfinished so that you could see what this is. This is just a disposable loaf pan. You could definitely do that. Grunge it up. And super inexpensive. Now these are way great things to use as resellables, okay? But if you want something a little more permanent, you could use this, like a hard pan, right? A legit pan. However, what I'm trying today is a little bit different of a style. And I'm wanting to use this non-stick pan because I'm wanting to pull my loaves out to display. I'm going to decorate it up a little bit differently and make it more specific for fall today. So these non-stick pans, if you use those, you can eventually work it. You got to kind of squeeze it and work it, but it will eventually pop out. And then you have this loaf that you can decorate in a different way. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that today. And then you can reuse your pan, or, you know, still continue to use it in your kitchen for real bread. Hey, Miss Kathy and Mary, how are you? Hey, Miss Tracy. So real quick, I'm just going to show you, if you've not seen this before, which I'm sure lots of you probably have, because it's a fairly popular project as long as you like primitive and country style decorating, right? How do you keep the foil pan on the bread so flat? Okay, what you can do, put a strip of cardboard, a thick cardboard down in the bottom of your pan, and that will help it keep its shape. Okay. And sometimes, and I will show you, let's see. Oh, this loaf right here. This was one of the very first ones I ever did. This is sort of like my prototype. I kind of experiment. I usually have one loaf I just kind of experiment with, and I'm going to kind of show you some things on this one later. But this one, see how this one kind of bulged at the bottom? See how it's kind of rounded? And they can do that. So what you can do, take it out if it bulges on the disposable pans, shave off the bottom, and then pop it back in the pan. Okay? If it doesn't want to wiggle and come out, what you can do, honestly, I've been able to take my hand and just squish it, and it will eventually flatten back out. But see, testing here. Learn from my mistakes. I painted this pan before I started doing that, and as I keep pushing this, I'm working off my paint. But I have not sealed this one. If you seal it, that's going to help your paint stick better too. Okay? But we'll get to that pan here in a minute. Let me show you how to fill this. I just use spray insulation foam. I didn't flip my camera. You can use there's lots of different kinds of spray insulation foam, okay? Anything will work. What you do need to make sure of is, if you get the spray insulation foam that's like extra expanding, you want to use less in your pans. This is just average. This is nothing. This says low pressure expansion will not, this is waterproof, blah, 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 blah. This is not extra expanding. This is just average. Okay. So with average, I'm going to fill mine about 1/2 to 3/4 of the way full. If you have extra expansion type of spray foam, you'll probably want to use 1/2 or like 1/4. Okay. I've never used the extra expanding foam. Comments disappeared when I did that. There we go. Hey, Miss Carolyn and Ann. How are you? Okay, so I'm just going to start at one end of my pan and work back and forth as I go down the length of the pan, okay? Now, fair warning. You'll probably want to test this out on something first because it can be a little tricky. So what I would recommend, like the control factor, it's hard to control the speed at which it comes out. So get like a paper plate or a piece of cardboard or something and just test it, okay? To see how fast it comes out with, depending on the pressure that you put on the little nozzle, okay? So I'm just going to go for it. All right, you can hear it when it starts moving. You can hear the air start moving. You really need to try to make the faux bread. Oh, Victoria, it's easy. I will tell you, it's easier to make a ton of them all at one time, and then work on them and decorate them as throughout the seasons. All right, so I'm going to start in one corner. Hopefully, you can see this. Hopefully, this doesn't foam up. And I'll tell you a funny story here in just a second. I used this one earlier. There it goes. Okay, now most of the time it comes out way quicker than this. I've already used this one this morning, and so it's getting a little contrary. You know what? I didn't shake it up either. Learn from my mistakes. Hold on. It's best if you shake it up. It kind of builds the pressure up, and then that way it'll come out a little bit faster usually. But the first time I did a video on this, or maybe the second time, I had spray foam everywhere. In my hair, all over my shirt. Yeah, it was everywhere. But, you can get a couple of cans of this, but it's kind of funny. You want to kind of use as much as you can at one time, and, almost use up your whole can. Well, let's see if that made a difference. Oh, yeah. Come on. Let's start down here again. Well, shoot. It will usually come out much quicker and faster and with a lot more pressure behind it. So, I do have a new can that I haven't opened yet, but I did not bring it to the table. But just be warned, it will not come out this slow or this calm the first time you open your can, okay? Now, because mine doesn't have as much pressure built up, it's taking me a lot slower to fill this up. Think of it as like, like those spray containers of Cool Whip. You know how fast that comes out? That's how this would typically come out. But I've already kind of used this little dispenser straw. And so it's not quite coming out as quickly as it would have. So that's why I say definitely use it as much in one setting as you possibly can, because you'll get the best effect. Now, I am going back and forth, and keep in mind, you only want it about halfway full, because it will expand quickly over several hours. But let me show you what I've done about, I don't know, it was about 3 or 4 hours ago. I'll show you. Okay. We're going to call it good there. Now, this will continue to expand and drip from the straw, okay? So, set this like on a paper plate or over a paper towel or something to catch the overflow, all right? Now, this will start to harden in the straw, which is probably what is preventing my quicker, faster flow of stuff coming out. So, if you want to use the whole can, use it, get lots of the disposable pans and fill them all up at one time, okay? That's funny, Vivian. When I started shaking my can, she was putting her phone in her stand, and she started shaking her phone at the same time. That's funny. Okay, let's see here. We're just going to set that over to the side. All right, so once you do that, you're going to let it sit. Now, for I would say at least 12 hours to let it completely harden. Now, let me show you. I don't have one that's exactly the same size, but I filled this little one about 2 or 3 hours ago, halfway full, and that's how much it's expanded. So you can see it expands pretty quickly, but that does not mean it's cured all the way through. So I wouldn't go tugging and trying to pull it out of the pan, at least for probably 12 to 24 hours. Okay. So let that sit, and you can see it's not It's not I did not put any cardboard in this one whatsoever, and it's not expanding too far at the bottom yet. Doesn't mean it won't over the next several hours though. But there you go. All right. Now, so you can see where this get really fun making these things. So this was in this pan to begin with. Did the same process, and you can see I'm comparing the height of the pan to the height of how much it, rose. Okay. All right. So just set that over. Leave it untouched. I have heard some people say that they will take a popsicle stick and kind of smooth out the bumpiness on the top. I wouldn't recommend that, not with this specific type of spray foam anyway, because this is sort of like, think of it as like yeast. Once you start disturbing the yeast, it breaks down the air that's building up inside of it. And that's kind of the same thing that is what happens if you start messing with it while it's fresh and wet and still moist. Okay. So honestly, just leave it alone. Let it do its thing. Let it sit on the counter out, undisturbed for at least 12 hours. All right. Hey, Miss Cheryl, how are you, sweet friend? All right. So moving that to the side. Now, this one, I have already painted. This is our test loaf. Okay. If you haven't already figured out, we're making pumpkin bread for decoration, all right? Faux pumpkin bread. And I wanted to test this coloration on it because I will tell you, this gives a waterproof finish, okay? Which means it's kind of like painting on plastic. And not a lot of paints will adhere to plastic. So you might want to give it a coat of like Mod Podge or use chalk paint to give it a base coat. Okay. Now, the first time that I ever made these, what I did is I took some sanding paper, just a real soft grit, fine grit sanding paper, and just smoothed over the surface. But, and that would break down the waterproofing barrier, except for it would still leave spots like down in the little crevices that would prevent the paint or whatever type of stain or coloration that you're using. Thank you for all those hearts. I appreciate it. Did we lose sound? Let me know if you can still hear me. Somebody said they lost sound. Hopefully we're okay. I seen hearts, so hopefully that means we're okay. Hey, Miss Katrina. Hey, Lindsay. Hey, Cheryl. Hey, Miss Terry. How are you? So I find it easier to give it a base coat of something, and that gets all the way down in those little crevices and little nooks and crannies. Okay. Thank you, Miss Mary, for letting me know the sound is good. I appreciate it. All right. So for pumpkin bread, I'm thinking, okay, well, my test loaf, this is my experimental loaf that I just kind of experiment with colors and methods, right? So what I did, let me show you the colors that I mixed up. I used a terracotta orange color. I use this color a lot because it gives me that primitive earthy orangish color. And what I did, I wanted to give it a little bit of a brownish appearance, and I still can't quite say that it's quite as brown as I would want it. But what I did is I added some instant coffee crystals to my paint. Okay. Added some instant coffee crystals to that paint, and then I let it just sit and let those coffee crystals dissolve, right? And that gave me a little bit of a deeper, richer color. But what I also did, once it starts dissolving, it can get a little thick. So if it gets thick, I add my coffee grunge mix. Okay, good. Y'all are awesome. See, I'm just now seeing some of your comments that say you can hear me, so that's so crazy. So my coffee grunge mix is just a mixture of coffee, instant coffee, cinnamon and vanilla and water that I apply to everything from fabrics to woods, over paints to give like an antiquing look. It's all kinds of methods that you can use this. And I have the recipe pinned at the top of my Facebook page. Okay. I also have it pinned at the top of my Telegram channel if you're on there as well. So I used a little bit of that to thin it back down. All right. Now that's what I have put on this testing loaf right here. Okay. So it starts out as this color, the spray foam. I gave it a coat of that. All right. I applied a little bit of the heat to get it to dry. Now I will tell you a little bit, you got to be careful when you apply heat because it can get a little tricky. Hey, Miss Linda from West Virginia. Awesome. From South Carolina, Miss Vivian. I appreciate you. So I've let this dry. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to experiment applying the coffee grunge on it. Okay, this is dried. This is our test loaf. If this works, I'm going to use the same method on this one. Okay. Now, I don't know. I feel like sometimes that orange might be a little dark or a little, I don't know, a little bright. That's what I should say. So I'm just going to put some coffee grunge over it and I'm going to let it dry and I'm going to see what that does. And I think it, unfortunately, it looks like it's going to brighten it up, which I don't know. It does give a good pumpkin pie color. It really does. But this coffee grunge, it has cinnamon in it. And so cinnamon doesn't dissolve. So when you put this on, whatever surface that you're putting it on, when it dries, and if it gets goopy, let me show you this because I've had lots of questions about this. If it gets goopy, that's okay. That's okay. That's actually a positive thing because it actually helps it stick to your surface. Okay. And what all that is cinnamon that is kind of gooped up together. Y'all like my terminology there? It's gotten all goopy, but that's the wonderful thing because it helps it adhere to fabrics, to wood, and anything you're putting it on. All right. So that's what I've done. Now, I will tell you on camera, it's a lot brighter than it is in person. And it's because I have these side lights that's making it a little bit brighter. But I've applied one coat of that coffee grunge and I can tell it's going to give me a different variation in the color. See how it sinks down? Sorry, I'm dripping it. It sinks down in those little grooves and that cinnamon will kind of give it just like the warm baked look, right? Goop is good, Miss Jennifer. How are you, sweet friend? The goopier the better, Miss Joy. You got it, girl. You got it. So I do like this. I will tell you that when I wet that down, it did start to take off a little bit of the paint from the underneath, that underlayer. But I think I'm good with that because we're going to do another layer of something here in just a minute. So I'm actually good with that. That's my test loaf. It's not as bright orange as it's appearing on camera. I promise. When I take photos later, hopefully I will get a good photo that kind of reflects a better image of that color. But orange is a funny color to photograph. It really is because you never know how it's going to turn out. All right, so let's go ahead and let's paint this loaf. This is going to be the loaf that we want to use. That other one is just our decorative tester, okay? We're just testing different methods on that one. And that's what I would recommend. Make you a couple that you don't care to mess up. Because it will happen. It will happen. But you have so much foam available in this can that you can make a ton of them, I promise. So make a lot of those little mini ones. Get you some packs of those little mini disposable loaf pans, and make a bunch. Make a bunch of those. And these are super cute to give as little gifts. And these are super cute to give as little housewarming gifts. If you have a new neighbor that moves in, or, a new family member, or a family member that has a new home. It's a cute little housewarming gift. These are adorable, especially if you make the mini ones. These are super cute on a tiered tray. The mini ones are adorable. And I will give you, when I make my projects, I always like to style them and show you how I would style them in my home. So I'll give you an idea and show you what kind of props that I kind of stage around it. And if you're selling a home, these are perfect. Or if you're a realtor, these are perfect to have as little props in your home. Everybody loves a home that feels warm and inviting, and baked goods, whether they're faux or fresh, can give you that perfect warm and inviting feel. But I like propping these up around in my kitchen and like a little buffet or hutch or island or even on a centerpiece. And I don't know about you guys, but I love collecting vintage kitchen scales. And these are really cute props to use in your decor if you collect those types of items. If you like collecting vintage kitchen utensils and things like that, these are perfect for that. So I have several that I use, but I'm wanting some fall versions of these breads. And that's why I wanted to do this today, because I know you've seen me before. Most of you probably have, unless you're new here within the last probably year or so. You've seen me create these faux breads before, but I wanted to give a different style to them today. So I was excited to give this a try. And there's more than one way to make this your own, you guys. So I'm just here to give you an idea, maybe to spark an idea, and then you take it and run with it. Okay, now I'm not going to worry too much about painting the bottom, okay, because I'm going to show you how I'm going to give this a little bit of a wrap. We're going to embellish it and really prim it up, make it primitive style. And that way it'll coordinate with all of my other home decor, okay? All right. Now, I think once we get this on, what we'll do is we'll give it a coat of that coffee grunge, just like we did on this first one right here. And then I'm thinking we'll use a little bit of Distress ink to kind of hit those peaks, because you know on bread has dark areas and light areas, right? Hey, Miss Sandra, thank you for those hearts. I appreciate it. Hey, Miss Elizabeth, it looks brighter on camera. I promise it's not quite this vivid, but I am still going to tone it down from what it is right now. You just use the spray insulate. Oh, yes, that's all we did. Spray foam, insulating foam. I grabbed this at Walmart. You can get it anywhere, different brands. There's lots of different brands of it, but pretty much the same principle. Now you want to make sure that you get in all those little nooks and crannies. I see a few little nooks that I missed, so I'll go back and touch those up later. But I want to kind of give you a little bit of a glimpse of the finished project here before we're done today. Hey, Miss Robin, you're from Litchfield. You are super close to my neck of the woods. So glad to have you. Hey, Miss Sandy. Could be pumpkin or carrot bread. You know what, Miss Sheila? You're exactly right. Could be carrot bread. So you could take off your embellishments and change it up for spring if you really want it to be carrot bread. You bought a can of that so I can make them after. Oh, awesome, Miss Linda. Are you moving? Best of luck with that. I know moving is a chore. I did put a pretty good heavy coating on this, so I do want to make sure that it gets good and dry. It will look awesome, Mary. I hope so. Hey, Miss Penny Duncan, how are you from Remake It Pretty? Yes, it could be a meatloaf. You're right. Now, I made this one a few years ago. Now, this one's really grungy, and I used, instead of using paint on this was one of my very first ones. And you can see it gives you that waterproof surface when you use that spray foam. And I used a stain to stain this one. And the stain didn't want to adhere to it real well, so you kind of have to sand it down to break down that waterproof barrier. But once you do that, you can apply the stain to it. That's why I said make you so many that you can test your methods until you get it down the way you like it. I see somebody that said something. Hold on. You were down there in Owensboro. Yes, at Romp. I know exactly what you're talking about. Romp is a big bluegrass music festival here in near Owensboro, Kentucky, and it's an international thing. So if you like bluegrass type, instrumental type folk music, things like that, you may have heard of Romp before. It's a big music festival that we have every year, usually around June or July. Usually it's so hot and miserable that it's hard to enjoy. Yes, Miss Janet, to make the top smooth, take a fine grit sandpaper and just rub over it until you get it the finish that you want it to. Let's see. I had a small one. Let's see. Well, hang on. I might have it over here. Nope, I have it in my other room. It's smooth, but you just take that sandpaper and just rub it back and forth all the way down, and that will smooth it down, and it will get rid of the bumps. Now, depending on what type of bread you're making, you might want the little bumps and the grooves, right? And I could not find my sandpaper anywhere this morning. I was so aggravated. I mean, I know I'm not the only one that whenever you go to look for something and you need it, you can't find it anywhere. But like 5 seconds after I'm done with this video today, I'll find sandpaper in 2 or 3 places. It never fails. I'm making sure that it's good and dry. I know it's taken a bit, but I did put quite a heavy coat on there just because that finish, it's waterproof, like I said, and so it's like painting plastic. You want to get a good coat on it so that it adheres good. All right, we're gonna, hopefully that's good enough. I know I still have some tacky areas, but I think we'll be okay. Whoa, that's like having the heater on me. And I'm not good with heat these days. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Hey, Miss Regina, how are you? Now, we're going to use some cheesecloth. And what we're going to do here is we're going to sort of wrap this in cheesecloth around the bottom. I'm going to kind of let this continue to dry a little bit before I add my coffee grunge on it. Because it's, like I said, it's still a little wet. It's taken a lot longer to dry than what I really anticipated. It's still tacky. I'm trying to find the driest spot. Isn't that crazy how long it takes to dry? Whew, okay. Let's wipe this paint off because I don't want to get any paint on my cheesecloth. Now, like I said, I did not finish the bottom, okay? And I think we'll be okay. Oh my goodness, where's my fan when I need it? The heat is bad. Oh, I know. Yesterday was actually really nice here in Kentucky. And today's not bad either. It's overcast and not too bad, but I'm telling you, it has been super hot lately. I know, I know it's warmer in many places other than here. Let's see. If you don't sand it, yes, the paint will stick. If you use an acrylic paint will stick to it. I haven't had any problems with the acrylic paint sticking to it without sanding. If you have problems with it, I would put a coat of Mod Podge on it first before you apply your paint. And that'll kind of give it a little bit of a base to stick to. Okay? All right, so I have my cheesecloth. And what I want to do, in fact, I'm going to kind of double it on the bottom because that bottom is so white. I don't want it to show. Okay, I had to think about what I needed next. Mod Podge. Mod Podge is what we need. All right. Let's give it a light coat of Mod Podge on the bottom. It won't take much to get this cheesecloth to stick to it. Okay. And we'll start there. Okay. I'm going to stretch it out. Oh, my fingers are wanting to stick to the paint. Okay, I think we're good. And I'm going to rub it down so that it gets good contact with that Mod Podge. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around all four sides and apply the Mod Podge to get it to stick. Okay, I'm going to have to pour some Mod Podge out in my plate here because my paint is still wet and it's getting on my sponge brush and I don't want to dip that back in a Mod Podge container and get it. My whole jar of Mod Podge orange. That would be bad. Okay, so I'm going to stretch that up. This is just the base layer. This is kind of hiding some of the color on the bottom. We'll go through with a finish layer of cheesecloth here in a minute that will be for pretty purposes. Okay. And just kind of press it down into that Mod Podge. And that should hold that cheesecloth pretty good. If you press it down good into that Mod Podge. Yeah. Okay, I love that already. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. See where we're going with this? All right, I got a little bit of Mod Podge on my hand. Now, It is drying. It's still just a tiny bit tacky. So we're going to continue on with this step, and then we can wait and do the other in just a second before we're finished. All right. So I kind of need to, this cheesecloth is pretty thin. So depending on how thick or thin your cheesecloth is, you might want to double it, triple it. I don't know. You do what you think looks best to you. What you could also do if you really wanted to, is making sure I wasn't cutting my microphone cord. I don't know what's happened to my scissors, but they have completely gone to the pits on me. I don't know if they need to be tightened or sharpened or what. I felt like the last time I used them, they were fine. And then all of a sudden I grabbed them today and they were like, oh, not sharp at all. You could even use fabric around the base of this if you really wanted to. So get creative. You can mix and match your fabrics to coordinate with your home decor as well. Okay. What I want to do basically is I want to make sure that I have enough of this cheesecloth to go all the way up to where I consider like where the pan would cover, right? So like up like around that area. That's what I want. Okay. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it. And then going to make a cut right over here. See, I'm telling you, my scissors. Okay. All right. Now, on your cheesecloth, let me show you. If you cut your cheesecloth and you have like that super straight edge, which bugs me. I know it may just be me. It bugs me. I kind of like to have a little more tattered edge. But with cheesecloth, all you got to do is just take your fingers and stretch it and do that. And that fine straight edge now looks tattered, which is exactly the way I want it, right? Okay. So Mod Podge, where are you? Here we go. We're going back with the Mod Podge. And you don't have to use a ton because I'm going to give it a little bit of a wrap with the fabric, some fabric strip here in a minute. And that will also help to hold it down. But just a little bit to kind of tack it. And that's really all you'll kind of have to do. And that'll hold it in place without it being like, looking like it's plastered to it. Okay. Hey, Miss Stephanie, how are you, friend? Hey, Miss Ann. Okay. Let's do this side. We're going to make sure that Mod Podge can kind of go through both layers of that, or thickness of that cheesecloth, and that will help hold it there too. All right, I think I might already be back to the corner I started on. No, I didn't do this one. All right. Press it down in there. Okay. This is what we have so far. Okay. Now, the orange, the bright orange is going to go. Let's work on that. Let's set the Mod Podge over here. Whoops, hold on. Let's grab some fabric strips. Okay, while we're at it. Now, let's see. I'm going to do the grunge first. And then we're going to dry it, and then we're going to go over it with a little bit of the distressed ink, and then we're going to finish it off. Okay? We'll see. You have a silicone bundt pen. Oh, yes, you could definitely do that. And you know, with the bundt pans, I like to make them into the pantry cakes. I love making the pantry cakes with those. Here's a little mini one. And mine need to be freshened up. And to freshen it up, I just give it a coat of the coffee grunge. But this is a little mini bundt pen, and I use these as decor as well. It's kind of already lost its smell. So if you freshen it up with a coat of coffee grunge, you can do that. But that is pantry tart. Those are pantry tarts. I do have a recipe for that. It's basically like a salt dough, only you use instant coffee and cinnamon in it as well. Okay. And just let it, you can let them air dry, or you can slowly dry them in the oven, or set them out in the sun, which, depending on where you are, could totally work. Many of us don't want to turn our ovens on in this hot summer heat that we're having right now. Okay, Now, what I'm doing with my coffee Grinch here, you guys, I am taking, hey, Miss Patricia, so glad you're here. I'm trying to get back in the groove of things, going at least once a week. It's hard because I do so many things behind the scenes that keep me busy, I'm telling you. But I am trying my best. What I'm doing is I'm taking that sponge and I'm pulling up that goopy cinnamon that's in there, and that's what I'm layering on top of this loaf. And that's going to give me variation in color that I want. And it's also going to let that cinnamon show up. Okay, that's super bright. Gosh, it bugs me so bad. Bugs me so bad that it's so bright for you guys on camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry. And then what I'm probably going to do next, I am going to use one of these distress ink pads. Okay, it is a dark brown. This one's called Walnut Stain. And what I'm going to do with that is, after this has to be completely dry. Okay, what I'm going to do is take this pad and I'm just going to rub it in. Well, probably I'll rub it back and forth. And what it will do is it will pick up those peaks and it will cause them to look like they've browned in the oven more than the rest of the bread. So that's what I'm going to do with that. And then what I might do is I might sprinkle it a little bit with some dried oats. And then I will seal it with a clear spray sealer. Okay. That's probably what I'll do. All right. Now the coffee Grinch won't take nearly as long to dry, but we did put on those big clumps of cinnamon, and that can take a little bit to dry. So you want to make sure that it's good and dry. Hey, Miss Susie Lee, how are you? All right, so I'm going to kind of let that kind of finish drying. I'm going to want to show you how I'm going to finish it off. I picked up some really cute fabric at Hobby Lobby last week. All their fabric, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, was on sale. And this was one of the fabrics. Let me show you what it looks like. This is one of the fabrics that I grabbed. Isn't that fun? Now, it's the same color on both sides, so you don't have to worry about there being a right or wrong side. So I just tore these in strips this morning, dipped them in some coffee and vanilla, and then dried them in the oven. Hey, Miss Dana. First time watching, Miss Tracy. Welcome. So glad you're here. Listen, if you love country style decorating, things that are primitive, I'm your girl. I'm your girl. I hope you'll leave me back. Hey, Miss Shelley, how are you? All right, so I'm going to take this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it around and back to this side. I want to make sure that my ribbon doesn't get, or my fabric, I called it ribbon, doesn't get twisted. I want that to really show up around the edge. And when you bake it and when you rip your fabric, sometimes it will kind of want to curl on you, but it kind of gives it that homespun look. Okay, we're going to tie this down. We have just 1 minute. My friend Christy at the Dashing Willow by Christy. You guys, if you are not heard of Miss Christy, I encourage you to check her out. She has some adorable, she's so creative. She blows me away with the things that she comes up with. She is coming up next in the Craft on the Clock Facebook group. I want you to check her out. I'm going to finish this off with an adorable little hang tag and some dried oats at the top, along with my distress ink. I'll stage this up and post a styled photo to give you even more inspiration on how you can use this in your home decor. You guys stay tuned. I have another coordinating project to go right along with this one, and I'll be letting you know when I go live next to show you how to do that one as well. Stay tuned for the next crafter. Thanks for joining me today. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon.